Greater Masaka, what used to be the former VP Edward Sekandi's constituency. We have Honorable Sebamala, Engineer Richard. So that is the Democratic Party parliamentary delegation. The purpose of this press conference is to share some thoughts on the work the Democratic Party intends to do in the 12th Parliament. In my case, some of you have forgotten that I'm an elected member of Parliament. I saw NBS yesterday saying Mao is at crossroads. What crossroads when I'm a member of Parliament? I have a seat in the Parliament. I'm not on the streets, unlike some of your favorite guests on your TV stations who have become veranda politicians. I'm the elected member of Parliament for Laropeche. Some of you have even been misleading the public that Laropeche is a new constituency. It's not a new constituency. It was created when cities were created. You remember the first time cities participated in elections was 2021. So Laropeche is the same with Nyendo Mukungwe and all those other constituencies. But some of you started a bogus narrative that a constituency was created for Mao, so that Mao can come to Parliament. That constituency was represented by the Reverend Father Charles Onen. You remember him. The father who talked about women and wondered why any man would choose to be a homosexual on account of what they would miss by being homosexual. So obviously, Laropeche is not a new constituency. Even when I see media flyers, they still refer to me as Nobert Mao, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. I would not have been eligible to contest for the position of Speaker if I were a minister, because ministers are barred from contesting for the position of Speaker. I'm a former Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. So my only title currently is President General of the Democratic Party and Member of Parliament for Laropeche. We want to state from the beginning that we are not satisfied with Parliament as it exists today. And that's the reason why this Parliament requires a transformation agenda. On behalf of the Democratic Party, I would like to congratulate the Honorable Jacob Maxson Oboth upon his election as the Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda. We will convey a formal letter to that effect. In the same breath, we would also like to congratulate the Right Honorable Thomas Taeba upon his election as the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda. We will also convey our congratulations by way of a letter. We are going to answer now the question, why are we not satisfied with Parliament the way it is? Number one, Parliament is a representative body. So you can rephrase the question I've posed. Does the Parliament speak the mind of the average Ugandan? If you were to go to the Hansard over the last 5 years of the 11th Parliament, are they really dealing with the real problems that face Ugandans? The Democratic Party believes that Parliament is out of touch with the life of the country. And that is perhaps due to a rusty process which is not representative. The Democratic Party will continue advocating for proportional representation for the Parliament of Uganda, so that the members who sit in Parliament will reflect the proportion of the citizens. The executive and its voice is most dominant in the work of Parliament. Parliament does not seem to be taking its fair share of the responsibility of governing Uganda. So it looks like instead of the Parliament being a crowd of 500 or so members, many of whom may not actually know what is going on. I'm sure many of you in the media had a taste of that when members of Parliament came from the caucus, having purportedly discussed the National Sovereignty Bill, and you started asking them about the real content of the bill, which they had agreed to support without question. And many of them proved to you in interviews that they actually knew nothing about the bill. It is not only the NRMs, even some members of the opposition who joined the NRM recently. I know one member who said he supports the bill in its entirety, only for the president to disown a huge part of the bill. So, the majority of the members of Parliament are just talkers and voters who are obedient to the government position. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with supporting the government position, but the government position should be taken after a process. We want the Parliament to be a body of representatives which is informed. It should be a body of representatives which can help ministries. They should be supported by researchers so that they can give valuable advice. And they should have as much influence the way the executive has. The Democratic Party proposes that Parliament should be allowed to give an unfettered judgment on the details of every proposal that comes before the House. We would like a parliament which is efficient. We would like a parliament which restores the dignity and respect due to members, because that dignity and respect has been eroded over the years, and the greatest erosion occurred in the 11th Parliament. We don't just want MPs to talk, we want them also to work. We are calling upon the new leadership of the Parliament, as they strive to clean the image of Parliament. We call upon them not just to focus on the image. The focus should be on the substance of what Parliament is set up to do. Our message is one: don't just look good, be good. We just don't want Parliament to hire public relation consultants so that Parliament's image starts glittering. We are calling upon the new leadership of Parliament to establish a forensic audit process. Some of you may not be aware that the things that are in the public domain is just a tip of the iceberg. When Amin was overthrown, people knew, yes, that Amin was a murderer, but they actually did not know the extent of the murderousness. For those of you who love to read a book called The Dungeons of Nakasero. So today, in addition to asking Parliament to do oversight on itself, we ask, who watches the watchdogs? I think we have demonstrated that Parliament is incapable of exercising oversight over itself. We are even proposing that the Commission should have somebody who is not a member of Parliament to sit in the Commission, so that we have a hybrid process. For too long, we have played the ostrich game, burying our heads in the sand, while Parliament collapses under the weight of an intimidated civil service in the Parliament. If you quietly interview the civil servants in the Parliament, they'll tell you that now they can breathe. Only an inquiry will be able to establish who got jobs wrongly without being qualified, while those who are qualified are being bypassed. Those who are not qualified are being promoted. Nepotism was at its highest. A patronage system was set in place. I'm told many influential people got their for their loyalty. That it includes ministers, judges, all sorts of people. So, we call upon the new leadership of Parliament to exercise vigilance so that we get to the root of the rot in Parliament. You all know, like I said before, and I saw somebody wrote an article in the Monitor that Mao fought a fight which nobody wanted to fight. Everybody was dancing around the problem. It is like if you have a big snake and everybody is saying, there is a snake, and they are just making an alarm but doing nothing. Civil society was making an alarm, MPs were making an alarm, the opposition leaders in Parliament were making an alarm. But the problem was the position of Speaker, because that's the position man needed to shake that chair. And that's the only contribution that I made. So we want to ask the new leadership, in addition, to protect the rights and privileges, particularly the freedom of speech of the members of Parliament. The members of Parliament are protected by law, and as they perform their duties, they need that freedom. In the 11th Parliament, members of Parliament were interrupted like in no other Parliament that I know. You'll be shocked that if you went to the Hansard, you'll find that the presiding officer spoke more than the members of Parliament. Yet speakers but we had presiding officers who had a comment on every speech. Any submission. If the leader of opposition has stood up to speak, the presiding officer should be government business. We are also asking that the rhetoric of a people-centered parliament should be translated into reality. You cannot say you are going to drive a people-centered agenda for parliament, and you are not inviting the public to suggest what should parliament discuss. So the Democratic Party is proposing that special sessions should be held annually where the agenda of parliament is based on public suggestions focusing on key issues for debate and discussion. If the traders of Kampala want the issue of flooding to be discussed, Parliament should discuss that issue of flooding. And if need be, even set up an ad hoc committee. The rhetoric of data-driven debate, evidence-based debate, cannot work. If you send MPs to collect evidence, then you block them from presenting it, the way it happened in the Uganda Airlines case. You want to take a decision based on evidence, and MPs go out and get evidence, then you say, please, we don't want to hear the evidence. Things are okay. We are proposing also that the Prime Minister's question time should be focused on government accountability. It shouldn't be an empty ritual. We are also proposing that there should be days in a session when the opposition is allowed to set the agenda. Many times the opposition have excuses saying they are denied audience. In short, their only job is to react to what government brings in the House. We need to throw this big challenge to the opposition by letting them set the agenda on certain days in the course of the year. After all, they also represent a vital section of the society. You heard the president yesterday crediting the opposition. The fact that you're opposition doesn't mean you have come to prevent the government from performing the job it was elected to do. That's a misguided concept of opposition. When you're opposition, it doesn't mean you have come to do what they call okulemesa. Opposition cannot be about okulemesa. The opposition should be to demonstrate to the country that if you were in charge, you would do a better job. We are also proposing, with the coming of the new chamber, which I hope will be finished within a year, there will be electronic voting so that the public can know how their members voted, instead of hiding behind this aye and no. People must know who supported which clause. And also those who ran away, they will also be recorded. And those who are absent. Right now, there is actually no roll call in Parliament. Or if it is there, it is not recorded. The cabinet is different. The record is clear which cabinet meetings Nobert Mao attended, which cabinet meetings Nobert Mao did not attend, and which ones he missed with apologies and which one he missed without apologies. The record is clear. I liked what I saw in the sovereignty bill process. The public was invited and there were hearings and the public was heard. That should be a given for all bills. Members of the public who are going to be affected by the bills should be invited, and Parliament should be busy listening to them. We expect the new leadership of Parliament to provide support to individual members of Parliament so that they get secretarial research support. The aim is to empower members of Parliament to do their jobs more effectively. You could see the way the members of Parliament were erupting yesterday. True, the rules of procedure provide for the suspension of some rules. But there are rules that cannot be suspended. They are entrenched. Yesterday, some members wanted entrenched rules to be suspended. How can you even think of that? It simply means that you don't have support as a staff. We would like the Hansard to be translated into our local languages so that people know what has transpired in Parliament. The Communications Department of Parliament should be a source of information about Parliament. Right now, when you journalists want information, Actually, you don't get information. I see most of you just get opinions from the communications office. If you went, for instance, and asked and say, can we have the terms of service of the members of parliament? The way we have, when we are appointed ministers, we have our terms of service in a document which tells you what you are entitled to. We are proposing a public information office in the Parliament of Uganda where the public can get all the documents that they need. Again, we emphasize what we call pre-legislative consultation. Pre-legislative consultation will allow us not to waste time. Let me end by commenting on what went on yesterday, because many of you are very interested in what our reflections are. Like I said on social media, ours was not a numerical challenge, it was a moral challenge. If one person is challenging what is wrong, you don't ask, if you were many, then you would be right. You can be many and wrong. You can be few and right. And we have been proved right. Some of you are asking, why did I go ahead and present my candidature on the floor of the House? Yet, I am an ally of the NRM. If I had been given a hearing by the NRM SEC and the caucus, definitely I wouldn't have showed up to present my candidature. You do recall that in the letter I wrote, I said I would abide by the decisions of those organs. But by not inviting me, there is no way now I could be bound by the decision. It was therefore my duty, both to my conscience and to the millions of Ugandans who have been inspired by the battles that I have led to challenge the status quo in Parliament. I needed to fight to the last moment. Now, those of you who have been putting those banners like NBS that Mao is now stranded. I'm not stranded. I'm a member of Parliament. How can a member of Parliament, you saw me taking the oath there. Is that how a stranded people look? I am here as the duly elected member of Parliament, as president of the Democratic Party, as chairman of the iPod Summit. In fact, today morning I had a very good conversation with our friends in Nuuk to continue the discussion. Soon we shall have some announcements on what progress we are making. I'm a very busy person. Stranded people are idle. And the idle people are the ones filling your studios. I invite you to really call busy people to come to your studios. Those who are doing something meaningful for Uganda. So I took the fight to the floor of Parliament because for whatever reason the NRM in their wisdom thought I should not face their organs as they decided on candidates. I respect their decision and I believe they also respect mine. But more importantly, for those who were saying, what next for Mao? The president gave you the answer. You heard it. You heard him loud and clear. He said, I am his ally. So leave matters of generals to generals. That's really not for you. In our culture, in Acholi, when you go for traditional marriage, the people who enter the house to talk about dowry and other issues are a few selected people. The rest of the delegation, they are eating and drinking and dancing and maybe trying to befriend the Sengas. So you, instead of engaging those who qualify to enter the house where serious matters are being discussed, you are talking to the other group. Some people are brought to carry luggage, to carry the matoke, to carry the meat, and so on. Those are the ones you people are engaging. They may not even know the name of the bride. They may not even know the clan of the bride. So you got your answer yesterday, because I could see a false narrative by those who have never understood what we are trying to do as DP and NRM and UPC, that we are creating a nucleus for the unity of Uganda. And it doesn't need to be about any position. It is something I'm committed to, because the alternative is unthinkable. We want to have peaceful change in Uganda. Many of you are very young, but for me, by the time I was 4 years old, the military had overthrown the government. The year I was born, the constitution had been suspended and a new Republican constitution was put in place. That is the 1967 constitution. The time I was turning 12, the combined force of Tanzanian troops and Ugandans who were in exile were kicking out Idi Amin. As I turned 13, DP was being rigged in an election. When I turned 14, the UPM went and formed the NRA. And Yusuf Lule had formed what is known as Uganda Freedom Fighters. And President Museveni had formed what is called People's Resistance and Popular Resistance Army, PRA. And many of you who may be supporters of NRM, you don't even know that it is Yusuf Lule's Uganda Freedom Fighters and Yoweri Museveni's Popular Resistance Army that merged to form the National Resistance Movement Stroke Army. There were two political groups, but they merged on the basis of shared goals. It is important to understand these things. Over the next few weeks, conversations will continue at the highest level between the Democratic Party and the NRM to consolidate that nucleus for the unity of Uganda. Yesterday you also proved that I am not a member of NRM. I'm just an ally. Because some of you were saying DP was sold. If it was sold, then why was it there yesterday? I know that the voting yesterday was strictly on party lines. Somebody reminded me that this was like what happened when the Honorable Ibrahim Semuju stood. At that time, FDC had 32 members of parliament. He managed to get 15 votes, like my 15 votes, which simply means that many members of his party did not vote for him. And at that time, the entire opposition had 120 members. But you know, in politics, there is no silver medal. There is only gold. So you either win or you lose. Whether you are the best loser, whether you are the worst loser, there is no medal to celebrate. What matters is for you to judge the impact of the political parties on account of the value they bring to the House. I want to end by saying I'm very proud of the delegation that DP has sent. You had the presentation made by the Honorable Peter Okot about my candidature. I'm getting a lot of flowers. They said, this man really made you look very good on the floor of the House. Some of the candidates were really not presented very well. But maybe because they won, because the election was already done, it was just staged yesterday in Kololo ceremonial grounds. As DP, we shall continue fighting for peaceful change in Uganda. We shall continue fighting for a national dialogue and reconciliation process in Uganda. We shall continue fighting for the protection of human rights. We shall continue fighting for the constitutional reforms that will ensure that we have real democracy, which we have called consociational democracy, namely looking for points of agreement as opposed to points of disagreement. I'm now a member of the DP caucus. I was last a member of the DP caucus 20 years ago. We shall elect a leader of the DP caucus who will be our whip. We shall appoint spokespersons on account of expertise. Our members are of the highest quality. They have diverse backgrounds. Honorable Opio here for long was in the local government of Noya district. Noya district is one of the richest districts in northern Uganda. Definitely the richest in Acholi. When you go there, you think you're in South Africa or Canada with the big farms and combined harvesters. You won't believe that you are in Uganda. And most of the oil we talk about is actually in Noya district. This idea of oil being only in Bunyoro is not factual. A lot of the oil is actually in Noya district. Honorable Okello Joffrey worked with me when he was leading the Gulu NGO Forum. Together, we contributed to the designing of the PRDP, Peace Recovery and Development Program, which the government of Uganda has been implementing as part of its post-conflict stabilization agenda. These are rural development experts. They don't need lectures from anybody. Our member from Bukoto Central is an engineer. So definitely you are going to find that the quality of the delegation that DP has brought is very high. They will not degenerate into comedy like you saw yesterday. I saw some members of parliament really making a joke of what it means to be an MP. I want to invite any questions that you may have in English.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nobert Mao. First of all, congratulations on your victory in the election. My name is William Ranga from David. Honorable Mao, you have the credibility and legitimacy to say that you are advocating for peaceful change in Uganda. Yes, you yourself and your nearby colonies, you have become the alpha and omega at the Democratic Party, one of Uganda's oldest political parties. Second, how can you say that you are calling for restoration of dignity in Parliament? Your chief minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, you were part and parcel of what was going on. How can you persuade us to believe what you are saying? Thirdly, we would like to know about the terms of the DP-NRM cooperation agreement. How many ministers do you believe will come out of that agreement pending cabinet reshuffle? Thank you, sir.
I think I'm happy to take more questions. Yes, please.
Yes, Henry Okuru from UBC. There is a reason that from the very beginning you never wanted to be speaker, but you were planted to confuse the incumbent. How true is this? Then secondly, what happened to your presidential ambitions?
Yes, please.
You have talked about the study about how there are so many ministers of constitutional affairs who are the one who oversee the commission. Can anything change how schools should be elected? Like from CSS which has for so many years, maybe something. And if you come here now, tell us how some of these are change, how we can branch up and let it be in the revolution whether you can see where you sit cabinet and you put your solutions.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Hon. We need to know where this will come from. The presiding officers interacting with these. We have seen unclear communication. That accusation, do you think there's a problem with orientation? These people don't know where their responsibility is supposed to be. Most of these debates have been tampered with. The public has been confused with the House. Where could have been the problem there? Was it a personal mission? Is it an orientation problem? What could have gone wrong?
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Then we get the lady immediately after.
My name is Daniel. I want to understand from you. Apparently, all the decisions are being made by pressure group, PLE, and even what Parliament acted on yesterday was after the decisions that were made by PLE. The PLU national chairman, Benon, was hosted and advised you to withdraw from the race of speakership. Wasn't that enough advice to you? Because the other communication, the other parties agreed to it, but you didn't. Secondly, recently, Hon Nobert Mao, we talked about the national question, what Ugandans want, rather than who should be the speaker. Do you still see the current achieving to this?
The lady? Yes, please.
Mariam is my name, Bubude TV. I would like to know, you have already told us that you are DP, you are not like NRM. Right now we are seeing you in Loki's office. Are you here to sabotage what they have, or you're here to sweet talk them and you get married alongside them in NRM? Thank you.
Yes. Yes, please.
Thank you, Honorable. During our conversation before this press conference, Madam Joseph said was at DBS. During our interaction before this press conference, you have cited that the political punishment is done. As the Justice Minister, because you're former Justice Minister and former Chisanja, could there be a legal punishment toward the leader of Parliament, of 11th Parliament, that is Right Honorable Anita Ntamo, because you've cited that the political punishment is done? Would there be a legal punishment? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think those are the questions. They are very provocative questions. Let me respond to them very briefly. The cooperation agreement was co-authored by DP and NRM. It is something new, something unprecedented. Like anything new, people always have skepticism because they don't know whether it will work or not. And in a country where people are obsessed with eating, they think it is just about eating. They don't look at the content. But surely, given my credentials, locally and internationally, do you think I'm a person who will ever lack anybody to give me a job? Seriously, if you people really... The fact that we have banters with some of these street politicians doesn't mean we are really at the same level. In fact, we do them a favor to even answer them. But the idea of the cooperation agreement remains a big milestone. The other question from Beg Media is that we are the alpha and omega in DP, we are dictators in DP, we are oppressing members. I think you know the parties that really oppress members. It cannot be DP. If there's a party where members are free, it is DP. Because we are the Democratic Party. Some of the things being done in DP, can you do them in any other political party, really? You have seen we are the most sued political party. I think I've had to deal with over 60 cases since I was elected party president. And it is okay, because if somebody wants to test something in court, it is all right. I want to repeat here that DP doesn't belong to me. In fact, there's no founder member of DP alive. All of them are dead. I was just honored to be the last person to talk to the last surviving founder of DP. You people should be praising DP because DP is alive despite the founders not being there. One day our leader was even killed and the party did not die. These parties you see around, if the top leaders were to be killed tomorrow, do you think they would really survive for 2 hours? You need to credit DP. You base your conclusion based on the 5 minutes of commotion in Mbarara. But if you were honest, you would realize that a candidate who wanted to be president of DP didn't have the qualifications according to the party constitution. But you still go ahead as so-called journalists, presumably educated, saying Mao blocked his opponent from contesting. Even if you wanted to be a driver, if the qualification is that you must have O-level, and you don't have it, even if you are the best in safari rally driving because you have a permit, you will not be employed by Parliament of Uganda or any government ministry. DP believes in a rule-based society. The other thing which you keep repeating on your screens is when the chair of the DP Electoral Commission, who is here, Mr. Kennedy Mutenyo, at that time he was the one in charge of the election, and he got a report that there were goons who had been hired from Kampala to come and disrupt the process of counting. The voting was finished. What was left was counting. And you saw the videos, you even have them, showing the candidates who were in the contest seated observing the process of counting. But you still continue with the false narrative according to big media, the gospel according to big media, that the ballot boxes were carried to a room as if they were taken to a hotel room. It was taken to a hall, an open hall, where all the candidates were there. So being Alpha and Omega is okay, but you have to be Alpha and Omega according to the rules. Even the president of a country is an Alpha and Omega.